guys. Welcome to kind of my last wrap-up post for 2023, and that is talking about the top 20 books I wanted to read in 2023 and what I thought about them. And again, I think I'm going to do this a little bit differently this year because I don't really want to go pick out 20 books I want to read. I just kind of want to read books throughout the year. So I think what I'm going to do for 2024 is at the end of the year, beginning of 2025, I will go through the top 20 books that I read that I really liked. I think that's probably more interesting to people rather than the top 20 books I wanted to read in 2023 and what I thought about them. With that being said, I would like to go ahead and wrap up the post for the top 20 books I wanted to read in 2023. I did read all of them except for one. The only one I was not able to read is Heavenly Tyrant by Jiren Zhao, and that is the second book in the Iron Widow series, and I was not able to read that because it got delayed. So it's not going to come out, I believe, until like March or April 2024 now. So with that being said, so 19 out of 20 done. I'm going to call that a success because I didn't have any control over not being able to read that other book. And this year, as I said, I'm not going to list out 20 books I want to read in 2024. I'm just going to go through my top 20 books that I read in 2024 when I get to the end of 2024. All right, enough intro. So the first book I wanted to read in 2023 was Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. This is the first book in the Silver in the Bone series. I suppose I should say one more thing. I have a very short synopsis and then what I thought of the book in a very quick summary for each of these. So I'm going to go through that. So this might be a little bit of a longer video, but I will try to be concise. This story follows a heroine named Tamsin Lark and her brother Cabell. They're raised as people called Hollowers. Hollowers are people who populate the magical underground in the modern world and make a living hunting relics. So we start hearing about an enchanted relic these characters need to find and eventually are transported to the magical world of Avalon to hunt down a ring from Arthurian mythology. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was okay, but I didn't love it. I did enjoy some aspects of the story. It gets kind of weird. It ends up almost being like a zombie Arthurian alternative reality type of thing. It's very odd. So I did enjoy like the curses, the magic, the relic hunting, but I didn't feel like the story flowed very well and the characters just felt really awkward and I didn't like them. So I won't be continuing with that. And I don't know, in general, Alexandra Bracken, like I really loved her book Brightly Woven, but kind of everything I've read by her since then has been kind of mediocre for me. So I think I'm going to step away from her as an author for a while and just give it a rest. As I said, 3.5 out of 5, it was okay. Second book I read was that I wanted to read in 2023 that I read, and I'm just going to say second book. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This one has been on my to-read list for quite a while. It's the first book in the Broken Earth series. It's very popular, so most people probably know what it's about. But it's in a world that seems to come from future Earth, which is torn by all these like natural disasters, quakes, volcanic activity, followed by really long winters. They call these seasons that are happening all over the world and destroying life all over the world. They kind of come and go, and there's humans, but there's also these humanoid people called origins who can kind of move around the elements and do things to the world. And everyone is trying to survive all these natural calamities. There's 3 more main POVs throughout the book, so it's a longer book because it does switch point of view quite a bit. I would say it's an epic fantasy. I liked this. It was kind of a strangely compelling read. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the complex characters. The world was really interesting. The way this story was kind of unwoven and unwound as you go through all these mysteries about the characters in the world. I like that. Like most of Jemisin's books for me, this was not an easy read for me. You really have to sit down and concentrate. It's not a book that like you sit down and all of a sudden you're done with it. You really have to sit down, you have to concentrate. So it took me quite a bit to get through, and I feel like there's still some things I don't quite understand and confused about. And I was honestly kind of on the fence about whether or not I wanted to finish the series. I did read this pretty early in 2023, and I never read the rest of the books. I never really wanted to. So I don't think I'll probably continue the series at this point. You know, nothing against the Broken Earth series. It's just one of these really long epic fantasy series, and I have not been in the mind for that lately. So there's that one. The third book that I wanted to read in 2023 was The Ravenspell by Luann G. Smith. This is the first book in a Conspiracy of Magic series. I had also read The Vine Witch from Smith, which I thought was okay, but a lot of people really seem to be liking this Conspiracy of Magic series better, so I wanted to try it out. This story follows Mary and Edwina Blackwood, two sisters. They are witches that make their living finding shiny things on the Thames River. This is more like a historical fiction fantasy. One day, one of the sisters, Mary, finds a dead man and steals his memories, because she likes to do that with the dead. However, ends up he's not quite dead, and this kind of triggers a series of events in which Edwina gets pulled into a mystery that Ian was investigating about the missing of the son of a prominent witch. This was, again, okay. I guess I'm just not a big fan of Smith's writing style. I felt like the world building was pretty weak. The mystery that they're doing is pretty predictable. Characters were really hard for me to engage with, and while there was some beautiful description, and it's kind of a peaceful feeling, slow burn mystery type of thing with fantasy elements, I just didn't really find it that engaging or interesting, so I will not be finishing that duology. I think it's a duology. Anyways, I won't be finishing that series. We do get to some ones that I do like a lot. I feel like all these first ones are kind of eh. All right, the fourth book I wanted to read in 2023 and read was Sea Sparrow by Kristen Kishore. I did give this one 5 out of 5 stars, so I really liked it. This is the 5th book in the Graceling Realm series. This book is told from Hava's point of view. Hava is Bitterblue's half-sister. So it mostly is a sea journey. They're sailing across the Cedaman Sea, and the ship is unexpectedly driven off course and wrecked in the middle of the harsh north. So there's a lot of navigating glaciers and surviving in these Arctic conditions. They have to, it's kind of got a lot of adventure elements. So Hava, Bitterblue, and crew have to do with this horrible trek across the glaciers and through frozen ice tubes, trying to find civilization to get back to where they need to be. I really enjoyed it. I hope Kishore is going to write more books in that series soon. I just feel like she's got such a beautiful writing style, such excellent world building, and really drawn into her characters. So I think she's planning one more book in the Graceling Realm, and I will be reading that when it comes out. So if you enjoyed the Graceling Realm, I do feel like the books in that series got more, her writing style just got a lot more mature as you went through it. And by mature, I just mean it's much more well written. The description's better, the world building is more elaborate, the characters are more intriguing. So really like that. All right, 5th book I wanted to read in 2023 was another series by Melissa F. Olson, who's an urban fantasy author I've read quite a bit. And that is Nightshades. And again, I did not really like this one. Nightshades is the first book in kind of a novella trilogy. And this book follows an agent named Alex who works in the Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, who gets transferred to Chicago. And he ends up on a case where a bunch of teens have gone missing in rural areas of Chicago, and he joins forces with a vampire to save these teens, trying to figure out why this vampire group kidnapping teens has gotten so aggressive. If you like urban fantasy, you might like this. It's just very typical urban fantasy. There wasn't anything very interesting here. The characters are kind of bland. The story is very straightforward. The setting was just generic Chicago with vampires. There were a couple elements around Lindy's past and around some of the vampire powers in general that were kind of neat, but they didn't show up till the very end of the story. And they weren't really enough to make me want to finish it or to keep going in the series. So there's that. 6th book I read and really enjoyed wanted to read in 2023, and I actually did really enjoy this one, is The Last Stand of Mary Goodcrow by Rachel Aaron. This is the first book in the Crystal Calamity series. So this book is set in it's like a fantasy western kind of thing set in the United States, an alternate history kind of deal. It alternates between 3 main points of view. You read from Mary Goodcrow, who's a half Lakota guide into these magical crystal caves. Mary hears these crystal songs and she kind of struggles to make a living as a guide for them because of her Lakota origins. The second you hear from is Josephine Price. She's a mining heiress who is trying to come there and start up a big mining thing to make her uncle proud and like redeem their business. Then you hear from Tyrell Rayner, who's a gunslinger who's in debt to kind of the local criminal element there. He wants revenge and is serving the criminal element to get info he needs. Everything's going pretty well. They're living their lives, and the U.S. Cavalry shows up at the mining area and gets into a war with the Sioux tribes. There's just a lot going on in here, a lot of interesting magic, a lot of adventure, and a lot of, you know, stuff about race and politics, and these women trying to make their own place for themselves in this society. I really loved it. I love the adventures in the caves. I love the magic. I love the characters. If you love Western fantasies with kind of a unique, neat magic system and a neat world, I would definitely recommend it. And I did read the second book and love that one as well. There is going to be a third book, and it's kind of we've been waiting for it for a while. So, in full disclosure, that one I did give 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. So, if you like unique magic systems and world building, Rachel Aaron's very good at that. And this Crystal Calamity series was very good. All right. Seventh book I wanted to read in 2023 and read is the final book in the Drowning Empire series by Andrea Stewart, The Bone Shard War. This one I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is a rather complex epic fantasy with a really unique magic system that uses like bone shards, a very unique world. I guess my only complaint with this one was that you're seeing the point of view changes between Lin, Jovis, Renami, Falu, Nisong, and having that many point of views really drew the story out kind of a lot, especially at the beginning. So it was a little bit of a slog in the beginning. But overall, I really enjoyed the whole series. I loved how this book wrapped things up. The first book in the series does remain my favorite. And when you're in a really unique world with a unique magic system, that often is the case for me. I like the first book the best while we're learning about everything. But I did enjoy the characters and the bone magic, and here the magic system is really good. So if you were looking for a good epic fantasy, The Drowning Empire by Andrea Stewart is a very good one. All right, the 8th book I wanted to read in 2023 is the second book in the Dark Gods series by Tara Sim. This is The Midnight Kingdom. I did not like this. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I didn't finish it. Tara Sim is actually an author I really, really like normally. But this one, I ended up stopping about 15% on the way in. There's just so many characters. I couldn't figure out who was who. I didn't know what was going on. There's like no hints or anything. You're just thrown right back into it. If you really love the first book, which I did really like the first book, I would, and you have the time, I would reread the first book before picking this book up. I do remember though, like I went back and read my review for the first book, and I was a little bit confused about everybody and things that were going on even in the first book of the series, and this book gets worse. So it kind of dumps you in there. There's a million characters. The setting's super complex. There's a really intricate magic system. I did not have time to reread the first book, so I just stopped. Like I just couldn't figure out what was happening. So there's that one. I guess my recommendation on that was, if you really like the first one, reread it before you start reading the second one, or you're going to be really lost. I will definitely keep checking out Tara Sim in the future, but I just think in this series there was too much. It was just too much. All right, the 9th book I wanted to read in 2023, and I did read, is Backpacking Through Bedlam, which is the 12th book in the Encrypted series by Shauna McGuire, a very long-running series. I love this. This book, again, follows Alice and her search for Thomas. So Alice and Thomas are reunited. They have a commitment to find a new world for all of Thomas's people to live in. After that, they're going to try to go home and live a normal life, whatever is normal for the Price family. However, Verity caused some issue with the Covenant, which is kind of the Covenant's out to get the Price family. And so they're kind of coming to a head, and there's war on the horizon. McGuire's Encrypted series is one of my favorite ones. I really have been enjoying Alice's point of view and like all the crazy worlds she travels through and the different species of characters she meets. I'm hoping we get more point books from Alice's point of view. I must have written this before I knew we weren't going to get any more, because I am reading book 13 right now. which is Aftermarket Afterlife, and that follows Mary, not Alice, and I'm only like 20% of the way through it, but it's been kind of slow. Anyways, the 10th book I wanted to read in 2023 was Heavenly Tyrant. We already talked about that. It never released, so I'm going to have to wait on that. The 11th book I wanted to read in 2023 is Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I had been wanting to read this series for quite a while. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is a pretty famous series, so most people probably know what it's about, but it's about an old man named John Perry who signs up to join the Colonial Defense Forces after his wife dies. He's declared dead on Earth then, and he is committed to protecting humanity in space. So he basically, the whole premise behind it is his old man's body who gets sent up to space. They give him they basically insert his soul into a new body, and he becomes an awesome fighting machine and is going to protect Earth from all the aliens that are trying to invade it. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. It's very humorous. It's thoughtful. It's action-packed. It's not like strictly military sci-fi, just because there was a lot in there, and I'm not a big fan of military sci-fi, but there's a lot of other stuff in there too, right? There's a lot of thoughtfulness. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of humor and craziness. I just really like the concepts presented here, and I'm really excited to read Ghost Brigades, except for I've had a whole library since I finished this book, which I think was back in like last February. So I finally just went ahead and got it through Kindle Unlimited, because they do have it for free through Kindle Unlimited right now. So I will be reading Ghost Brigades this year. Hopefully I can read more than just one book in that series a year as we go forward. The 12th book I read that I wanted to read in 2023, and I did read, was another Anthony Doerr book, because I really liked Cloud Cuckoo Land, and so I read All the Light We Cannot See. I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. This was an absolutely amazing book. I did not realize this was about World War II, kind of the end of, like, as World War II is wrapping up. Well, I guess it's kind of through the whole World War. Jumps around a lot. It's really well written. If you want to read a historical fiction about World War II, I would highly recommend it. It's really emphasizes like humanity's resilience, how people can help out each other, and it follows two main people, a blind girl on the French side and a young boy who ends up becoming a German soldier on the German side. And it was interesting because it jumps back and forth in time, so you see like when the war is starting and like further on in the war, and you see when the boy gets recruited to be a soldier and like when he is a soldier, and kind of how everything goes along there. There's a really interesting like kind of side story that goes through about this gem, I believe, that they're trying to find, so kind of a little mystery in there. It is, I mean, it's very disturbing. There's some violence. It's about World War II. That was pretty disturbing war, I would say. But it was really well done. All right, the 13th book I wanted to read in 2023 that I read was another Sarah Addison Allen book, and that is The Peach Keeper. I have read most of Sarah Addison Allen books. This one I gave 4 out of 5. This story is about two women named Willa and Paxton who have links back to this place called the Blue Ridge Madam. That's a historical house. We hear some from their love interests as well. It really focuses on these women like healing, finding friendship and love, but there's like this mystery woven through it about this traveling salesman named Tucker Devlin, and how he was related to Willa and Paxton's grandmothers. I enjoyed this. I'm happy I read it. I always feel like Addison Allen's books like just leave you feeling kind of happy and peaceful. I didn't enjoy this as much as the Waverly Family books because I felt like it kind of wandered between a lot of different points in the story, but there was a good mystery here, and I enjoyed watching these women find like some peace and happiness, and they're just always very like calming, peaceful reads, so I enjoyed that. Number 14 is more of a novella than a book, but that was Mina Wentworth and the Invisible City by Melhan Brooks. Somehow I missed this. This is a novella in the Iron Seas series. I believe that's what it's called. One of my favorite steampunk series of all time, and I don't know why I never read this, but I realized I hadn't, and I went back and got it. 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved revisiting the Iron Seas world, and this was a cute little novella. There's a little mystery in here. We get to see where Mina and Rise are at 8 months of marriage. I'd recommend to steampunk fans who don't mind romance in their steampunk, and I would also recommend reading book 1 of the Iron Sea series before reading this book, because it does like follow the future of the two characters featured in that book. So, yeah, I really liked it, and I really wish Malcolm Brooke was like still writing the Iron Sea series, because I love that whole series. All right, the 15th book I wanted to read in 2023 that I read is Come See the Living Dryad by Theodora Goss. This was a well-done short story about a woman who's trying to figure out the past of one of her ancestors. She has a rare genetic disease that causes her, or no, one of her ancestors has this rare genetic disease that caused her like growths all over her body that kind of look like bark. And then her ancestor was murdered. She's trying to kind of figure out the murder, like dig into him more. I really enjoyed the topic, the characters, the mystery, the whole plot of this. I always like Theodora Goss's writing style, and I would really like to pick up some more books and short stories from her in the future. This is another novella. It's a quick, engaging read, and I would recommend it. All right, the 16th book I wanted to read in 2023 that I read is Remote Control by Nidhi Okorafor. This is the author who wrote the Binti series. This is about a young girl named Fatima who gets this object from the sky, and after that she emits a strange deadly light if she is harmed. It kind of goes back, it starts in the present and then it goes back to show us how Fatima, who's now known as Sankofa, got this weird power. So we follow her whole story till we end up back into the present. I really like this a lot. Fatima and her story were very good. There's a lot of undercurrent discussion about society, environment, how people are treated as outcasts. And as I said, I did not like this quite as much as the Binti series. I also read the first book in the Nispiti scripts, and I didn't really enjoy that series. So I'd like to keep trying out Okorafor's books and stuff, and I did like Remote Control. So if you're interested in something kind of in the same vein as Binti in a little bit of a way, that was pretty good. All right, 17th book I wanted to read in 2023 is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I really like this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This is kind of an add-on to the Inheritance, isn't that called The Inheritance Games? Anyways, that whole series. And it is told from Grayson and Jameson's point of view, and alternates people POV. So Grayson has found out that he has some half sisters and that they're kind of in trouble, so he tries to help them. Meanwhile, Jameson has found his father and has been asked into this like high stakes secret game by his father. I really love this. Again, it's well written, engaging, and I like the new characters that were introduced. I like spending time with all the characters from the original trilogy. It was filled with wonderful puzzles, mysteries, and lots of twists and turns. And there's going to be one more book, I think, in this, where they're having like a big contest to give away a whole bunch of money. And I wish I could remember the name of the series. But the book's over here, and like, you know, it's pretty popular. All right. The 18th book that I read, well, I did read that. I was just looking at this and I thought, oh, I should read that book. Anyways, the 18th book that I wanted to read in 2023 and I read was The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. I didn't love this. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. It was okay. But this follows a girl named Brianna who's an orphan who has submitted to this place called the Magnolia House to become a passion. And a passion is an expert in one of 5 areas. So art, music, dramatics, wit, or knowledge. Brianna's father's a mystery to her. She kind of struggles to find what her passion is. She ends up just deciding to pick to be a passion of knowledge. And she fails to find a patron right away. But then this disgraced lord offers to become her patron, and she gets involved in all these politics and ends up in a plot to overthrow the king. This was okay. There wasn't anything like blatantly wrong with it. But it was just kind of like, bleh, to me in general. Like, the problems were really easily solved. The characters were really perfect. The story was very conveniently tied up. I just have no desire to continue that series. So, if you like political fantasies with a slow burn, forbidden romance, you might enjoy this. I do plan on checking out more of Ross's books because I also read Sister of the Sword by her, which I really, really loved. And I know that she has another book that just came out that is that Divine Rituals, I think, is the one. Like, I plan on reading that. Anyways, okay, so we're almost done. It's getting a little long. The 19th book I wanted to read in 2023 that I read is a Kelly Armstrong book, and that is Cursed Luck. This is kind of like the only series by Kelly Armstrong I hadn't read yet. I gave this a 4 out of 5. It was okay. So it's about a woman named Kennedy Bennett who runs an antique shop. Secretly, she's a curse worker. When her sisters get kidnapped, she's confronted by a man named Aiden Connolly about a curse working job, and she thinks the two things are related. Aiden's trying to find a mythical curse necklace, and he needs Kennedy to remove the curse over it. However, he didn't realize that Kennedy was really looking for her sisters, or how deep he was kind of getting into the underbelly of the magical world. This is a quick, simple read. There's a couple twists and turns to the plot that were fairly entertaining. It's very typical paranormal urban fantasy fare. There's a little bit of romance in here, but not much. It's kind of more of a slow burn. I guess if you're looking for a fun, well-written paranormal read, you might find this entertaining. I loved it. I enjoyed it, but didn't love it. I probably won't continue with the series at this point. I've read a lot of urban fantasy, and this didn't wow me in any way. And then the 20th book I wanted to read in 2023 that I read is The Catalyst by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm a big fan of Sarah Beth Durst writing. I have not read a lot of her middle grade books, so I wanted to go read one of those. This one I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. It follows a girl named Zoe who finds a little kitten that she names Pipsqueak. But then Pipsqueak starts to grow at an unreasonably fast rate. We're talking like very, very big, very quickly. It gets even more complicated when other pets are starting to display magical features as well. This was definitely not my favorite Durst book. I prefer her young adult and adult novels more. I don't know. I was in a phase where I read a lot of middle grade when my son was around that age, but it's just not my favorite. It was very fun and cute though, and I think kids would really enjoy it. There's very positive messages throughout the whole book. The whole thing has a very positive feel. There's a lot in here about family, friendships, growing up, and of course, there's a giant magical talking cat. So how can you go wrong? So those are the 20 books that I wanted to read in 2023 and almost read, except for Heavenly Tyrant, which was not released. I don't know if this was useful to anybody or not. I think it's interesting for me to go back and watch it when I'm thinking about books to read. As I've said, for 2024, I am not going to be doing a list of 20 books I want to read in 2024 because I don't really want to have a list of books that I have to be committed to reading. Instead, what I'll do is I'll do my top 20 books of 2024. And I think that's probably of more interest anyways, because as I was going through this, I realized like half of these books I didn't even really like that much. So why would I want to spend time talking about them more? I don't know. Okay. So that's that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will probably talk to you in a couple weeks for the best books of January, so looking forward to that. And I'm not going to do a life update or anything because we're already almost at half an hour, and that's pretty long for one of my YouTube videos, and I do have to edit this, so yeah, we're just going to stop there. When I do my best books of January, I'll do a little bit of a life update for that as well. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.